Hello, my name is Attorney Van Smith, Managing Partner here at Smith Strong, and today it's my privilege and a great honor to introduce to you Ms. Christine Geddes, an estate planning client with her husband here at Smith Strong. Ms. Geddes, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you are a client at this firm. What are you working with Smith Strong attorneys now in developing?
We are working on a will and a trust that we've desired to establish for quite a while.
And how is your experience going so far? Have you been pleased with the building of a will and trust estate plan here at Smith Strong?
Very much so. What was really unique about Smith Strong is that I first heard of them from a friend of mine who had used them and been pleased. And they had a first meeting where you could do a consultation and learn a little of the firm. And I did that via Zoom. And I was struck by the breadth of knowledge that I could gain in one meeting and by the things that I thought I knew that I needed more information on.
So we try to encourage, a lot of times we're met with skepticism and a little bit of, maybe some negativity over the workshop. We don't require the workshop, we just strongly encourage people who have never done estate planning before, completed estate planning, to come to the workshop. So you found that helpful to start there.
I found it really helpful because I came to the picture with a fair amount of knowledge of what estate planning entailed, but my attempts to comprehensively do what I desired had always fallen a little bit short. And my needs were pretty extensive, and I wanted to make sure we got it right. And so Smith Strong really was able to help me with that.
What do you think, as you're reflecting now on the experience of creating a will and trust-based estate plan with attorneys here at Smith Strong, what set us apart in that process? What made Smith Strong's experience for you and your husband better than others?
A couple of things. The first was the patience of the people who I spoke with and their ability to help me separate what was emotion between what was fact. And when you're dealing with estates, you are either dealing with someone potentially who's elderly, somebody who's had a catastrophic illness or event, or as in my case, someone with chronic illness who needs to protect assets so that I may need state or federal programmatic things or have my own earnings from previous times that stand to be depleted in a fairly quick way. And so by establishing an appropriate trust, I was able to figure out which vehicle was the appropriate one for me. And it wasn't necessarily the one I had anticipated.
So in other words, you didn't feel pushed into an option, but you felt you had the room to explore each option and decide for yourself what was right for your situation.
Absolutely. I think that was phenomenal.
And did that contrast, or was there a difference there between that experience lived here at our firm versus other experiences you'd had at other firms and law firms in the area?
Well, I've lived in multiple areas throughout the state of Virginia. And originally, the first attempt I had done, I was raising my children, so I was divorced. So the needs then were to protect them. Now they're over the age of majority, and the issue was to protect my husband, who's senior, and myself. And so our needs shifted a lot. And the other firms that I dealt with, frankly, didn't have the knowledge base to assess things as effectively or as adroitly, which, effective meaning the capacity to do it, adroitly, the skill, obviously.
Wow. Well, you're very kind to say that, and I'm honored that you would compliment us in such a way. It's our privilege to serve you. As you're navigating your own trust and estate plan for this phase of life, would you give other folks encouragement or information that you think they would find helpful as they're searching for the right estate planning firm for them? Maybe it's Smith Strong, maybe it's not. But what do you think they should know about us and about the process to help them take action and take that first step?
The one thing I would say unequivocally is as you age, or if you're dealing with some sort of illness across the lifespan, you get introduced to a lot of programmatic things. From state and federal agencies, you may have a hospital caseworker. There may be decisions that you're making on the fly because you're put in situations where you need to make decisions. And the unique thing about working with Strong and Smith is they could sense the urgency I had in relation to the fact that my husband had, an upcoming surgery that made doing a will right away important. But they appreciated my desire to take time and compare the information I was being given with the other information that I had awareness of, but not necessarily the most complete awareness of in legal terms. I may have known it somewhat in programmatic terms, but how it was going to impact me was something that I wanted an attorney that was ironclad in their ability to assure me that my wishes would be met. So I would say to other people to not be intimidated by the process and to look at this like a partnership. And that's what I was really blessed by, because I had never dealt with an attorney who I felt I could have a long-term relationship with, who would meet my needs in the moment, and then who I felt would know what I was saying and follow through with them as a partner with myself and my family.
I think that was marvelously said. And it's such a privilege to hear, not only that you liked our firm or that you liked the experience, but the words you chose, which I really resonate with me, are, I was blessed by this experience. That's very interesting language you've chosen.
Well, it's part of who I am to be able to discern, frankly, which direction to go. And I think I've said before that when you're facing emotional circumstances, it's sometimes very difficult to hear the spirit because your whole body is going, oh, why am I in this situation? But the truth is, if you look in the details and you breathe, you'll feel it. And that was what was different, as I just sensed that strength that your employees had and the empathy that they showed was probably the greatest catalyst for me going beyond the workshop and looking at more than just a will, but looking at the entire package that would protect myself and my family through all kinds of eventualities. And I'm hopeful that, as I said, as things evolve in my life, if something needs changed, if legal statutes become different, it's really good to have confidence in who you're working with, or you'll end up like I had been with other firms where you're sort of restarting over and over and retreading the same ground. And that can be exhausting. And so I'm glad that Strong Smith took some of that weight off of me and let me pace it.
Yeah, no, that's so carefully said and lovingly said. And we don't mean any ill will towards other folks here today, but it is helpful, I think, for people to know your experience, and that it's not only an experience you had here, but you had at other places. And so one of the things I'm hearing you say is, unlike other places, you not only felt like you could trust us, but we gave you that room to breathe to ensure that your needs were being met and the plan you really wanted was being created.
Exactly.
And talk about that. How do you think we delivered on that? And why do you think it was so obviously different than other places you went to in the past?
I have special needs. I'm not going to hide from that. It's part of my testimony. It's part of who I am. I have a background and a master's degree in disability-related health equity issues. That said, when it applies to you individually, all the education in the world while you're facing circumstances may not matter, because, as I said, you miss something because of the emotion you can't help but feel. And as you age, things that happen to other people when they're much older happen to someone like myself. I was born with cerebral palsy much sooner. And it doesn't matter what the condition of your life might be, physically or financially. If you go to an attorney, and a lot of us go to someone because a friend recommends them or we know them from the softball field with our kids, whatever the case might be, and they take us on and they'll do a will or they'll look into a trust. But if you're going to a general attorney who doesn't specialize in what it is that you need, then generally that attorney has to refer you to somebody else in their firm. And so then you find yourself branching out and actually spending more money because you were piecemealing what you're doing. And like you said, that has nothing to do with malfeasance. Everybody wants to help. Often it has to do with maybe how I was able to communicate my need and the amount of pressure I was at the time to get it done. So for instance, if you're facing a surgery, I've faced plenty. I was always making sure guardianship for my children was handled and things like that. But then as you age and your needs get different or your financial situation gets different, now they're grown and I don't want the onus to make choices about my future to be on them. That's a hard thing. So by doing this, I feel like it's a gift that I can give to my family to know that I made those choices, however hard they may have been or may be going forward, to articulate my wants so that they aren't questioned.
And I think that was, again, incredibly generously said, that estate planning is a gift to your family. It's a selfless act, because what you're saying is, when my time arrives, I want it to be without stress or conflict or tension or anxiety for those left behind. And that's a marvelously selfless thing to do. And you're to be commended for taking time out of your life to do it. And I appreciate that you've taken time now even further, which is remarkable and incredibly generous, to encourage others to do the same.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. If I could just say one final thing.
Please.
For those who may have a child born with a condition or a family member that encounters disability unexpectedly in life, I would say to you to seek out estate planning right from the start. Because in doing that, there are other people that know how state and federal programmatic laws work, and they can take a lot of the stress away from you. And then you already have documents, and you don't have to repeat them every time that you deal with somebody in another venue. And I think you mentioned a gift, that if I had had that as a child for me, it would have made life much easier. So I really encourage you to think about your own assets at the time when life is calm for you. Even if you're facing something difficult. That sounds like I'm being contradictory. By calm, I mean if you have a child, if you have a disability, that's something that's going to continue on. So choose a time that you feel emotionally strong and capable in your life to explore these things, and don't wait and think it's something you can do on a different day, because it certainly is. But the amount of weight that will be lifted off your shoulders when you dare to let someone else come in who's trained to do it and help you is incredible.
I think one of the greatest privileges we have as attorneys here at Smith Strong is to surround parents of special needs children, even adult children. One of the things I've seen over the years I've done it is the weight these parents carry and the responsibility. I don't say the burden, but I say the responsibility of what happens if I'm no longer here? How will they make it? How will they survive? How will they go on without me? And it's the relief we give for them to see a plan and see the people that will help manage that care and that trust and that estate plan, so that they don't lose the government benefits or disability benefits or Social Security disability income benefits that they're receiving, all the while creating a continuity of care not only of their health, but of their financial health long after the parent is gone. And so that's a tremendous privilege. And there's also estate planning that should be done even before you pass. So for instance, now once your special need child is 17 years and 6 months or older, it is very important that they have powers of attorney, advanced medical directives, in addition to special needs trust and things of that nature. So in the event you need medical attention for them or financial attention for them, they're not yet passed on, but now the parent needs to step in and manage their adult child's needs. They need these documents now more than ever because companies and hospitals are requiring these parents to have them. And so it's our privilege to go out and speak to groups. So I want to encourage, if you have a community group or a parent organization of special needs folks or of disabled folks, please let us help you and let us speak to you in a way that will empower you with information and make the responsibility and the joy of parenting these children a little easier. And it's such a privilege to know that on behalf of the 30 people at Smith Strong, that you felt welcomed, heard, patiently cared for, and that you feel so strongly about it that you asked us if you could help spread the word. I'm truly humbled by that and gratified by that.
Thank you.
And it's incredibly heartwarming to just have you in our presence again today.
Well, I thank you for having me, and I feel really humbled myself, and I try to withhold emotion, but I will tell you, it took so much fear away from me, and it let me feel the presence of God in my life. But if God brings you through it, He'll get you through it. But the reality is, sometimes it's so scary, and you don't think you have the means to set it all up because it might cost this or it might cost that. But not doing it is much more costly in so many ways. And so I'm just so grateful to everybody here.
We're grateful to you. And I think the way that you've said it, the sincerity and the authenticity of which you've said it brings me so much gratitude to you for coming and telling us part of your story, because that's what I envisioned when I created Smith Strong and we developed legal strength as our motto here, was to empower people with education to make wise decisions for their life, which will ultimately lend itself to a greater sense of peace. And you've said it so beautifully, and you've said it with such compassion and for others by being here today and helping spread the word. I'm truly humbled. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And thank you for coming today.
Okay. Please thank your staff.
I will.
Absolutely.
Yes. And now you've not only been able to express that, but also share it with others about your experience.
Great.
Thank you very much. Miss Christine Geddes, privilege. Thank you.